Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video is a quick preview and prediction for Artur Beterbiev versus Marcus Browne. This fight goes down on the 17th of December, takes place in Montreal, Canada, and it will be televised by ESPN in the USA and I believe Sky Sports in the UK. Now leading into this fight, there's not been much promotion and I've not really seen many people talking about this fight, which is a shame in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, I would rather see Artur Beterbiev fight fellow champions, but right now he can't get those fights. So in the interim, I think Marcus Browne is a perfectly acceptable opponent for Artur Beterbiev. Plus Marcus Browne is Beterbiev's WBC mandatory. Of course, Beterbiev holds both the WBC and IBF light heavyweight titles. So yeah, all in all, there are fights out there that I would prefer to see Beterbiev in, but I don't think Marcus Browne is a terrible opponent by any means. But nevertheless, let's briefly break down the tail of a tape and then I will get into what each fighter, in my opinion, should do to stand the best chances of winning this fight. Artur Beterbiev, he has a perfect record of 16-0, all 16 wins coming by way of knockout. Marcus Browne, on the other hand, has a record of 24 wins, 1 defeat, 16 of his 24 wins coming by way of knockout. Of course, Marcus Browne's only defeat was to Jean Pascal in a bit of an upset. Artur Beterbiev is listed as 5'11.5" with a 73-inch reach, whereas Marcus Browne is listed as 6'1.5" with a 75.5-inch reach. So Marcus Browne is the taller and longer man. He has a 2-inch height advantage and a 2.5-inch reach advantage. And in my opinion, to stand any chance of winning this fight, Marcus Browne, he needs to utilise that height and reach advantage. Artur Beterbiev is an orthodox fighter, whereas Marcus Browne is a southpaw. Artur Beterbiev is now 36 years old, whereas Marcus Browne is 31 years old. So Marcus Browne definitely has the youth advantage in this fight, and dare I say, he may even be a bit fresher because Artur Beterbiev has had a series of injuries throughout his career, and eventually that sort of thing does take its toll. Will it take its toll in this fight? We shall see. But now the tail of the tape is out of the way, let's briefly break down what I believe each guy should do to stand the best chances of winning this fight. And I think I'm going to start with the underdog in Marcus Browne. Now I want to put this out there, when it comes to Marcus Browne, I've always felt that he's never really shown his true capabilities in the ring. He has on occasion, but he's very inconsistent. For example, when Marcus Browne fought Gabriel Campillo and Badu Jack, I felt he looked really good and a potential problem at light heavyweight. But on the other hand, when you look at Marcus Browne's fights with Lenin Castillo, Hot Rod Kaladzic, and of course Jean Pascal, he looks extremely vulnerable. Marcus Browne comes across as a hot and cold fighter. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's something outside of a ring, I'm not sure. But I think we can all agree he needs to be hot in this fight. He's fighting a massive puncher in Beterbiev with a 100% knockout record. So stating the obvious, Marcus Browne needs to be switched on in this fight and concentrating for the full 12 rounds, or however long it goes at least. And for me personally, Marcus Browne in this fight stands the best chance if he's utilising that height and reach advantage. He needs to keep Beterbiev at arm's length for as long as possible in this bout. Marcus Browne does have quick feet and he can be elusive when he wants to. I think he's best when he's carrying out that boxer style, so he needs to be fighting on the back foot in this fight. He needs to be consistently popping the jab, making sure his back doesn't touch the ropes or he doesn't get backed up into the corner. He needs to be maintaining range, offsetting Beterbiev with the jab, and keep on turning him and keeping Beterbiev off balance so he can't throw his big power punches, and he wants Beterbiev to be reaching in, so then at that point Marcus Browne can counter him with that straight left hand out of that southpaw stance. And I do think that's going to be important for him in this fight. I think he will need to catch Beterbiev with something that makes Beterbiev think. I don't think Browne can box and move without trying to put some mustard on his punches. I think he needs to get Beterbiev's respect, because if he doesn't, Beterbiev will keep on marching forwards and he won't be deterred. And the dangerous thing about that, even if Marcus Browne is boxing Artur Beterbiev and winning rounds, Beterbiev does carry his power late, so to cope with that power for 12 rounds without trying to put Beterbiev back in his place will be a hard ask, in my opinion. Another thing Marcus Browne likes to do when he's in boxing mode, when he's boxing and moving, he does like to tie up, and I would strongly advise him not doing that against Artur Beterbiev. For me personally, Artur Beterbiev is one of the best in boxing when it comes to fighting out of a clinch, breaking the clinch, getting a free hand, and still generating power in his punches. I've seen him hurt numerous guys in the clinch, including Tavoris Cloud, for example, Alexander Vodzik. I think Marcus Browne needs to avoid the clinch in this fight, because I happen to believe that more than likely Beterbiev is the stronger man. And if Marcus Browne is clinching Beterbiev in this fight, I think he could actually sustain some punishment. In my opinion, the clinch for Marcus Browne should only be used in a last resort scenario. If he's hurt and he can't do anything else, clinch. But apart from that, don't clinch with this guy. Try and maintain distance between yourself and the opponents and keep on boxing. And on top of that, mix it up on occasion, try and throw the odd power shot here and there to try and get Beterbiev's respect. And also, Marcus Browne has a horrible habit of backing up in straight lines with his chin in the air, hands down. He can't afford to be doing that against Beterbiev, given the skills that Beterbiev has when it comes to cutting off a ring. Marcus Browne needs to be exiting at an angle to try and make Beterbiev reset. That in itself will endorse risk, because Beterbiev is good at cutting off escape routes with his overhand right or his left hook. He can cut off either side, but doing that I think is less risky than just backing up with your chin in the air in a straight line. So Marcus Browne in this fight needs to box, dare I say, a passive fight, maybe somewhat of a negative fight. He needs to try and box and frustrate Artur Beterbiev, and that's how he should go about it, in my opinion, and see how that works out. As for Artur Beterbiev, as I think we all agree, he is going to be the pressure guy in this fight. It's down to Artur Beterbiev to chase Marcus Browne down, cut the ring off, apply that pressure and land those big power shots. Again, I mentioned earlier, Marcus Browne has a horrible habit of backing up with his chin in the air in straight lines. We saw that in the Jean Pascal fight. One of Beterbiev's best pieces of skill when it comes to closing distance is shifting with his feet and punching at the same time. That makes him very effective at closing range, applying pressure, and also punching on the front foot as he's coming forwards. And when you're doing that against a guy who is backing up in straight lines, they are susceptible to a guy who actually uses shifting in his pressure fighting game. So the shifting for Beterbiev in this fight could be key against Marcus Browne. On top of that, of course, I want to see Artur Beterbiev continuing to use that body attack of his. I think he's one of the most underrated body punchers in the sport of boxing. That played a big part in his win against Alexander Vodzik. When Beterbiev employs that body attack, he can really sap the energy out of his opponents. And one of his best punches to the body, believe it or not, is his stabbing jab to the solar plexus. He can even incorporate that in his shifting and then come over the top with an overhand right. But I want to see Beterbiev really utilise that bodywork in this fight. He's fighting a taller and longer man in Marcus Browne who's going to move, so any opportunity, Beterbiev definitely needs to be beating on that body to try and slow Marcus Browne down and slow down his foot movement, try and get Marcus Browne more stationary, because if Beterbiev can force Marcus Browne into the exchanges, that is when Marcus Browne is very vulnerable. We saw that obviously in the Jean Pascal fight. He got dropped 3 times in that fight and eventually lost by a technical decision. He was exchanging with Hot Rod Kaladzic and got hurt in that fight. Even against Lenin Castillo, who's not a great light heavyweight, he was exchanging with him and once again was getting caught. So working that body of Marcus Browne, slowing him down and making him fight that sort of fight will give Artur Beterbiev a great chance at securing the knockout in this bout. Going into this fight, considering Marcus Browne is taller and longer, fighting out of that southpaw stance, he's very quick, and he's quick with that straight left hand. I want to see Artur Beterbiev pay a little more attention to defence as he's coming forwards. Beterbiev at times does like to keep his hands low. He'll keep his right hand near his chin and his left hand low. One thing about Marcus Browne, he is very quick at delivering those straight shots, and he can generate power on that straight left hand. So Beterbiev can't be walking in with no respect for Marcus Browne, because he will get clipped and potentially he could get hurt. Marcus Browne does carry decent power when he really sits down on his shots. So I want to see Beterbiev approach this a little more with a more tight guard, a bit more attention to defense, because I think Marcus Browne is a banana skin type of opponent. If Marcus Browne gets it right, I think he'll give Beterbiev a very hard fight. So, Beterbiev needs to be tightening up that defense going into this bout, in my opinion. But obviously on top of that, maintain that pressure, still be aggressive, try and close that distance, just keep a tighter guard, a little bit of head movement here and there, things of that nature. Throw a few feints coming in also, which Beterbiev does very well. Foot feints, waist feints, shoulder feints, and obviously hand feints. But going into this fight, I am looking forward to it. Like I said, I do believe it's going to be more competitive than many people imagine. I can see Marcus Browne starting this fight quite well, maybe winning a couple of the early rounds, maybe even being up after 5 or 6 rounds. But I happen to believe that Beterbiev eventually will slow down Marcus Browne and more than likely stop him late on in this fight, maybe rounds 10, 11, 12, something like that. But I do believe Marcus Browne will give a good account of himself in this fight, and I do believe he will give Artur Beterbiev some problems in there. But yeah, my prediction is a late stoppage for Artur Beterbiev. But what about you guys? Are you picking Beterbiev? Do you think Beterbiev is going to do it quickly, or like me, he'll have a few struggles here and there? Or actually, are you picking Marcus Browne for the upset? Share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Delboy. Peace.